needs you need me to clarify during the call, absolutely. You can chime in or drop any questions in the chat. I will try to keep an eye on those waiting to get in the room, as well as the chat box while we go through today's presentation on 4 things I wish I knew when I started my business. So thank you guys so much for being here on the live. Again, chime in anytime you have a question or need clarification. I'll keep my eye on some more of the chats and people waiting to get in. One last time before we dive into the content, I apologize if you were waiting for that passcode. Zoom is just like, it never fails to send me a challenge or try to stretch me in some way. And today it was that passcode link that nobody has ever needed before. So I apologize if you guys were waiting to get in and that passcode was your holdup. So let's get going. So today we're talking 4 things I wish I knew when I started my business. And I'm going to preface this by saying that I know that things are uncertain right now. I know that with the economy and with the way the world is evolving so rapidly. And I know that after the past 2 years, like it just feels like we're on this never-ending hamster wheel. But I honestly don't think that there has ever been a time where women, and like small town women in particular, where it's been a better time to pursue something for yourself, to make your own schedule, to make your own money, to make your own way in the world. Even with the obligations that we have with partners and kids and volunteering, and maybe some of you do have a full-time job commitment, I just really think that there is something to say for the stability of working for someone else. But 9 times out of 10, I'm going to bet on myself, and I'm going to bet on me getting where I want to go. And I really believe that if you ascribe to that same vision, that same feeling that like, I know I can do this, then there's never been a time for you to start or to scale up your business. And that's what I hope you take away from today. So okay. What I hope you take away from today is that by learning from what I've accumulated here in the past 5 years, that you'll be able to either save time or save some money on your own business starting and scaling. And that through the things that I've learned along the way, you'll be able to get to your own goals either quicker or cheaper than I did. Because there is so much we can learn from just hearing each other's journey, and so much that we can take away from having conversations like this with other women. And I hope that today that is the takeaway for you. So every so often you might see me glancing down at my phone, because I do want to make sure that if anybody can't get in, I'm responsive to them. I should have had my VA on this call so she could help me with this too. But every so often you'll see me glancing down. It's not because I am ignoring or anything like that. I just want to make sure that the people who want to be on the call are here. So we're going to go through 4 things, and I've been kind of previewing these in my social media posts leading up to today's masterclass. We're going to talk about the fact that people will pay you for your expertise. We're going to talk about how your skills are unique to you. It doesn't have to be perfect, and that your mindset matters just as much as your skill set. And then you're going to have 2 bonuses as well that I did not preview. I really feel like getting to where you want to go quicker, faster, and cheaper, quicker and faster are the same thing. Faster and cheaper really can be attributed to continuously marketing and continuously learning. So we're going to cover all of this in the span of about 45 minutes. I do want to leave some time for Q&A at the end. And yeah, as always, stop me anytime you have questions. All right. First up, something I wish I knew, and something that I've learned over the years, not just personally in my own business, but through networking with other people, is that people will pay you. No matter how specific your interests or your expertise, no matter how you feel like, why would anybody pay me for this? There will be somebody out there who you help. And through your skills and your gifts, I am confident that you fulfill one of these 4 categories for someone. You can help them save money with your skills and talents. You can help them save time with the services or products you offer. You can help them live their life through the services and the products you offer, or you can help them live their life better. Okay, so let's break down each of these. And if you've been part of my realm for any amount of time, you know I love to tell a story. So I'm going to tell stories on each of these as well. So I was just in a program in May with a group of high-level women business owners from across the nation. And never have I proven this concept that people will pay you for your services and your products more so than in this group container. Because in that group, these women were killing it. I was surrounded by 60 female business owners. Some of them were in Arizona, Utah, Midwest, Pacific Northwest, all over the place. And their businesses were so impactful. And some of them were so uniquely specific that I was like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought they would be able to create a whole business and find a whole clientele around that. But because of the current world we find ourselves in, we can really, if we choose, put our business out in front of people no matter where they are. And now if you are a service provider that your services are have to be happening in person, obviously you're not going to be able to market your services to someone across the globe. But if you have an element of your business that can be turned into a digital product per se, then you can really open your doors to anyone. And some of these women in this container, so back to my May program, there was a woman who was leading retreats for women who were, she sticks out in my mind because I have the end of the story will really tell you why. So she introduced herself to this group and she's like, I really want to host retreats for women who are now divorced because their first spouse found out that they were homosexual. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that there were so many people who would go to a retreat and love that retreat experience, and B, that it would be so specialized to that unique demographic. But this person has really not only was she in this group with us, but during June, during Pride Month, she was on Good Morning America because through her social media outreach and her marketing and getting things geared up for not only her brand, but this retreat that she's hosting too, she got the attention of some producers on Good Morning America, came to her home and did a segment, talked to her ex-husband and her current husband. And so it was just a very unique thing that kind of opened my eyes and just kind of solidified this idea to me that you know what? I can be as specific or as broad as I want, and there will be people out there who will pay me for what I have to offer. Again, if you can help people save money, save time, help them survive, or help them thrive in their lives, you have a marketable service or product. So when I started Molly Knuth Media, I was honestly, and you guys have probably heard me tell this story before, but I was in a workshop about 3 months into my business journey. And at that time, I was still okay, I'm doing this to make some side money. I'm working with some of these local businesses to help them market on Facebook. And I wanted to hone my skill a little bit and figure out if this was a valid avenue for me to pursue. And at this workshop, I remember we had a morning segment where it was talking about the back end of your Facebook page and branding and graphic design and all that. And I almost got to lunchtime and I raised my hand and I'm like, so you're telling me people will pay me to post on Facebook for their business? And the leader of the workshop, who had a couple of years of experience on me, she was like, yeah, and there will be more people than you can serve. And I was like, no way, which leads me into point 2 that I wish that I had known. My skills and talents are unique. Your skills and talents are unique too. And so if you're a service provider, there are things that come easily to you that you feel doesn't everybody know how to do this? Newsflash, they don't. If you're a product-based business, there are certain things that your product addresses or certain ingredients or elements of that product that are not found in other products in your industry. That's your differentiator. And what I stumbled over and find other business owners stumbling over as they're building their business is that they think because something is so easy for them that it means that it needs to be discounted rate or it needs to not be a marketable product. And that does not mean that. Just because something comes easily to you, it does not mean that it's easy for everybody else. And this is a concept, I just put it into a Venn diagram, but if you look it up on Google, it's called the Ikigai, and I can type that out for you later if you would like. I'll put it in email follow-up for this, but it's called the Ikigai. And what it is it's like this overlap of what you like and what you're good at, plus this overlap of what people need and will pay you for. And if you find yourself somewhere in here where these two circles overlap, that's a place where you can create, build, and scale a marketable business idea. Because in order for you to be a business owner in an industry long-term, you're going to have something that you somewhat enjoy doing, right? We can't completely hate what we do every day and hope to be successful at it. You might be successful at it, but at what cost? And maybe there's something you super, super enjoy, but you're not especially good at it. It takes you a long time to do, and maybe the end result is great, but if it takes you a long time to do it, then maybe it's not something you can necessarily scale as a business idea. Similarly, if it's something that you love and you're good at, but it's not necessarily something that's in demand in the market, it might not be a pursuable business opportunity at this time. So where we find that sweet spot, that overlap between what we like, what we're good at, what people need and will pay us for, that's where you can really create this business. And the reason I want to bring that up in this segment of today's presentation is because there's so many places in our life that we feel like, oh, I am so good at X. For example, I am not good at organizing. So right now, you guys are seeing the corner of my office that is organized. And what I'm not showing you are the piles of papers that need to be filed away. I did get my Office Depot order came today, so I can finally file stuff and put it in my basement. But it is not something that comes naturally easy to me to keep things organized, and not just in my physical space, but the desktop on my computer or the files on my Dropbox or in my Canva. I can create and I can profusely generate new ideas and things, but when it comes to organizing, that is not my zone of genius. And what I found is if I sit down and try to organize my desktop, I'll do it for a little while, but in the end, I get distracted because I look at something as I'm processing it and organizing it, and then I'm like, oh, this gave me an idea. And I would much rather create something new than organize the old. So I'll go over and I'll create something new, and ultimately I'll be down this rabbit hole of creation. It's fruitful for sure, but did I end my original goal of getting organized? No. So what I've found is that there are people out there who love to organize things. Like my VA, Megan, she helps me because she loves to organize things. She loves spreadsheets. She loves order. She loves having no emails in her inbox. And I am the person who has, let's see, what do I even have? Right now I have 2,300 emails unread. So Megan helps me organize things, keep them filed away. And rather than me spending hours and getting distracted and ultimately not getting things done, I can pay her for a couple of hours of work, and she will efficiently get things organized so it's done. I also had somebody who's a professional physical space organizer come in and help me with my basement, because my basement storeroom was just after Christmas, it was a disaster. I had wrapping paper in one place, Christmas trees in another place. We had switched out those boxes of clothes as the kids moved from one size to another. And it was all just scattered across my storeroom floor. And I brought in this organizer because I was I just need a system. I need to know where I'm putting these things, and then I'll be able to run with it. And that's what happened. She came in for less than 2 hours. She had my stuff organized, you guys. And I did have to work a little bit at it to keep up with the organization, but it's made so much easier and more efficient now that I have her system to help me through it. And Think about my VA, Megan. What if she was like, well, isn't everybody just as organized as I am with their digital spaces? Or that organizer that came to my basement, Nicole. What if she was like, well, I just love having baskets and labels on my storage bins. I think that's something everybody does. What if those women had thought that everybody was just like them? They would not have been able to help me. Just kidding. Then they would have missed out on a business opportunity. So it can be simple for you. It can be something super easy for you and still be a marketable business opportunity. And if what you're good at and you like to do does fall into this sweet spot with something that will save people time or money or help them survive or thrive, they need it and they'll pay for it, then you've got a business opportunity right here. Okay. Sometimes I talk really fast, especially when I'm excited, like I am today. So if you need me to repeat anything or clarify, like please jump in the chat, or you can turn on your mic and ask me any questions. Happy to answer questions as we go through, you guys. All right. The third thing that I've learned over the years is that you don't have to be perfect to take something to market. Okay. So just because you don't see the whole set of stairs doesn't mean that you can't take that first step to getting there. What I think is the most important is that you're self-aware enough to know where you're starting from, and then you can see where you'll be at the end of that staircase. If you can identify those two places, you can fill in each step on your way from the ground to that next landing along the way. You don't have to know every single step. And for some people like myself, that's a totally comfortable feeling to know that I see my vision and I'll get there eventually. I know that I'm confident in myself that I'll get there. For some people, that feels really scary and it makes them feel super vulnerable because they like to have things stepped out for them. And it's okay to take that perspective too. Not everybody wants to fly by the seat of their pants like I do. But if you're somebody who likes to have that organization, this doesn't have to be scary. You can still have those staircase steps mapped out, but just know that it doesn't mean you have to have that next step perfectly laid out or perfectly planned or 100% prepared before you launch it. I subscribe to this idea of 70%, where if something is like 70% of the way there, then that's enough for me to at least introduce it to my audience, get it out in front of them, and then I'll build it on my way. So for example, if you guys have been in my social school programs or any of my workshop programs, a lot of times I'll get the idea, I'll frame it out for what I want to talk about, but my actual like slide deck or my workbook, I won't have those 100% prepped and ready to go when I launch this program for sale. A lot of times I will have the first couple of things ready to go if it's like a several week or several day long experience. But I like to be the person who can adjust to who the audience is and what they especially need. So I'll have a plan of attack, but I'll actually build as I go because it saves me a little bit of time. I also feel like it's customizable, and it also like makes me justify to myself that this is an okay approach. But honestly, like you don't have to have everything mapped out to the T in order for it to be ready to launch. There are a lot of things that you can do and build along the way. And it also doesn't have to be like super fancy. You don't have to have all the bells and whistles. What I think is best is to keep things simple. And so I'm going to compare this to a website. Okay. For a lot of people, when they come to my team wanting a website, they want something that is like dynamic and it moves and it has everything, all of their information in one place. But what's actually the best for a website is something that is simple and easy to understand. So rather than have everything you offer and everything that you're about spelled out on the homepage, what we're going to do is drill that down to one sentence so that we can keep it simple for your audience to understand. So if you can convey what you do simply, that means that your audience can understand it easily and quickly. When you can break down your process and know how you get a person from where they're at to where they want to be, and that can be through your services you offer or through the products that you help them implement and bring into their lives. If you can walk somebody through the process of where they're at to where they want to be, and you can explain that in just a few simple steps, that helps them understand you. It helps them really apply what you do to their life. And when we mix in too many things, then it can get really diluted in our messaging and people get fuzzy ideas of how we help them. And then it's an automatic no. So what we want to do is, rather than have everything spelled out and giving people the entire Bible of what we do, we want to just keep it simple. We can drill it down to one sentence or a couple of bullet points. In our processes, we don't have to share like every single thing that we do for them. We need to include the most important pieces of how we get them from where they are to where they go. Similarly, if you are creating a website, like, it doesn't have to be the perfect, ideal, fanciest website to get you started. It can just be a simple landing page, or it can have a basis of what you're going to offer, and you can build as you go. For Molly Knuth Media, for example, and if you're a service-based business owner out here watching, like, there can be this pressure that you need to have a website, all of the socials, an email list. You need to have a process or a software that like takes people's names and then it kicks them into your client list. And then they get all of these automated reminders and stuff. And that can be overwhelming if we feel like we have to have all of that in place. I want you to know that you don't have to be fancy. You can just have a simple set of processes. You can have some of those steps and not all of them from the get-go. It's okay to build over time. Just like that staircase, where we are to where we want to go. We can't get from the base of the staircase to the landing in one step. That'd be way too much. So you're going to have to break down into smaller pieces. And when you can keep those pieces simple for yourself and for your audience, it's really going to help you not only establish and communicate what you do and how you help your audience, but it's also going to help you not feel overwhelmed and pressured so much. So break it down. Doesn't have to be fancy to be effective. And ultimately, if you can make it simple, if you can keep it simple and communicate it simply, that's going to be better off in the long run. And a resource that I often send people to at this stage is the book called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And what his message is, I read this back in 2017, and it really it put words and vocabulary to what I believed and what I was doing already. But it also helped me clarify why some things worked and some things didn't within my own business and what I was doing for my clients. And so this keep it simple message really does derive from that book, because he has all the scientific reasons behind it. But he's the more it takes people to read your website or go to your social media page and have to read through a lot of things in order to just digest what you do, that's the more calories they're expending, and the more calories they have to spend on this understanding process, the more it's going to drive them away from you. And so keep it simple as possible. And now, with that being said, there's a caveat too, don't go to my website right now. Because right now my website is kind of all over the place because we've gone through this evolution at MKM. And so recently I've had people find me and set up calls, and they're like, so what is it that you actually do? And I'm like, I know my website is not where it needs to be. So this is not something that happens once and it's done. As your business evolves too, you'll have to go back and you'll be like, okay, where am I complicating things? How can I streamline? How can I simplify? And then you'll have to continue to remind yourself of this and go through this process. And that's where I'm at too. Okay. Number 4 of what I wish I knew when I got started in my business is that my mindset and my energy matter just as much, if not more, than my skill set. Now, this is a recent development for me, you guys. I think I can see glimmers of it, as I look back at my trajectory. Or not my trajectory is going forward. As I look back at where I came from, I can see different points in time where I did embody this mindset that I needed. But honestly, until earlier this year, I didn't believe in it so much as I do right now. So what I really believe is that we cannot go into business or into any product launch or a service launch or the next big thing, no matter what that big thing is in our business. We cannot go into it with these ideas. And I'll tell you why. We can't be saying these things to ourselves in our mind. This will never work. No one will ever take me seriously. People will talk about me if I do this. No one will pay me to do this. I'm going to bother people by posting. See, also, like, who would pay this much? Or why would anybody take me seriously? Who am I to be educating on this? Who am I to be selling this product? Who am I to own a business? Any of those kind of thoughts come from this really low vibration. And I see that Jennifer's here on the call. Jennifer, I know that you're probably like, yeah.
Yep.
So I worked with a coach earlier this year. Her name is Susie Holman. And she has this, it's a graphic that I can share with you too. And she calls it the energy ladder. And so these feelings that come from asking questions like this are what she calls the lower rungs of the ladder, or like our staircase that we were talking about a little bit ago. So feelings of like shame, doubt, overwhelm, anger, those are all really low feelings. And every feeling is attributed to a vibration of energy, right? So when we're feeling, and I can even feel it right now, when I even repeat those words, like you might have a feeling in your body as I say doubt, overwhelm, frustration, anger. Like I can feel it in like my body slows down, my chest gets heavy, my stomach kind of hurts. And like there are probably different parts of your life or your business where you'll think about these things. For a long time for me, it's checking my bank account. And I'd be like, it didn't matter where my bank account was. It would just like attributed with this feeling. And the feeling would make me like feel even lower. My energy would lower. And the concept when I worked with this coach was like, it takes conscious work. It takes conscious choice to not let those feelings be automatic. We have to work to take those feelings from a low place on this vibrational ladder to a high place. And when we take that conscious motion up on that vibration and on that energy and on that mindset, not only does it change how we feel, but our energy around these feelings kind of go out from us into other people and into other aspects of our life and our business. I hope I'm explaining all of this in a way that makes sense. But this is really, really true. So what I think we need to do is instead of thinking like this, when we catch ourselves thinking like this, because there are habits that we need to break, we need to, instead of saying these things, like it'll never work, no one will take me seriously, we need to say this will absolutely work. And we can actually like add little caveats to it too. And we can say this will absolutely work in time. I am taking me seriously. People will talk about me and I will make it good. The right person will pay me to do this. I'm going to help people by posting instead of I'm going to bother people by posting. So sometimes it's simple as flipping a word or adding a caveat about like it'll happen in time or yet or something like that. But this truly makes a difference. And I'm going to give you 2 examples in my own life. So back in February, I sold a really high ticket offer. And when I created this offer, it was the highest price tag I'd ever put on anything that I'd released. And in the back of my mind, while I was marketing this, I was almost like afraid and shameful to put out like how much I was charging for this, because in my own head, I don't know like what I was thinking, like, but I know it was definitely like feelings that were on this previous page. Like, who am I to charge this? Who would pay this? Why would I even like put this out there? And you know what the results were of that program? Like I had a couple people sign up, but not to the levels that I like had as a goal. And for good reason, because I didn't trust in it. I didn't believe in it. So the energy and the doubt and the shame and the fear that I was putting out there, that was being felt through all of the marketing that I put out. Now contrast that to late last year, I had the best launch I ever had. And it wasn't necessarily like, I mean, it was a lower price point than the one that I had put out, but also I was having so much fun. Like, do you guys remember any of my Taylor Swift marketing? Like that was a riot. I had so much fun, like creating reels for that. And my energy around that program was like fun, joyful, optimistic. Like, so I think people signed on for that program, even like up to that point, that was the highest I'd ever priced anything as far as my workshops. And so even though that was my higher price point, like people signed up and that was my best launch ever. And I think it was because my energy was high. And then another example, earlier this month, I had a client that I was like, you know, things just aren't really vibing here. And so I let that client go because every time I came to do their work, I was like feeling resentful and dragged down. And I was like, not coming at it from a high vibration. I was a very low vibration. So I had a conversation with that client. I was like, I think we need to go separate ways because I think you could be served better by other people. And then, I kid you not, within a half hour, I had an email in my inbox from an ideal person who I would love to work with. And she's like, hey, something fell through with my other social media coordinator. I'm looking for your options. And I was like, oh my gosh. So sometimes we have to let go and really work on these things that we're telling ourselves. Who would pay this? Who would ever like think of me that way? Who am I? We have to build the belief and the trust in ourselves first. We have to get our minds right. We have to get our beliefs right. And then we can pursue what we want in our business. And even though I didn't have all the tools and the vocabulary around this in the beginning, for me, what I really feel like when I look back is like, so many people, I feel like when I talk to them about starting businesses, they either say like, who am I to do this? Which I definitely had that. And I still continue to at various points. And also like, there's not enough people out there who would do business with me. But when you look around at just the people, like even here, like in Cascade, and I know a lot of people who are on this live, you know of Cascade. But if you're watching on the replay, Cascade's a town of like 2,000, 2,500. And when I started Molly Knuth Media, I was like, I don't know a ton of people who I feel comfortable like reaching out to and like being like, hey, I'm open for business. Come do business with me. But I was like, I know, like looking just up and down like my main street, there are so many people who are self-employed. There are so many people who have business goals and they might not need me right now, but they might need me sometime in the future. And really, even if everybody in my town contacted me to help them, I would be overwhelmed. I would not be able to serve that many people. So imagine if I expanded my radius 10 miles or 20 miles or 50 miles. So there is always this abundance. And it's a matter of finding the people you vibe with. It's a matter of really getting yourself to realize these people exist and I can serve them through my products or my services, believing that, and then going out to launch. So you got to get your head right first and then go into marketing and promotion for what you do. Okay. Phew. That was really fun, you guys. Thanks for listening. All right. I really believe your mind is the edge that you need because there are going to be people out there who offer the same products or offer the same services. Sure, you have a differentiator, but your biggest differentiator is how you think and how you approach what you do. That's going to be the edge that you need. So hone that tool as much as you can. All right, we've got 2 bonus topics that I didn't preview at all in the post that led up to today's class. So my first bonus is what I wish I knew. One more thing I wish I knew. And I kind of did this like from the start without realizing it, but never stop marketing. Never, ever. So in the very beginning of my business, I worked with a client who was seasonal. They would work in the summer months, and then in the winter months, they were a seasonal business, so they couldn't really do much. So they're like, well, we're going to market during the months that we're working, but then we're going to scale back. We're not going to market in the winter months because why would we spend money on marketing when we can't get out and work in the field? And I was like, you guys, honestly, think about your target market. They also are busy in the summer months. That's why they're hiring you to come in and do the work for them. In the winter months, they're sitting because it's cold out. They can't go do their work. So what are they doing? They are scrolling social media. They are watching YouTube videos. They are trying to find videos and cool programming to watch or podcasts to listen to. So for that client, I had, through that conversation, I like kind of convinced him that like, oh yeah, even though it's not our busy season, that is the season where we are most likely to get in front of people. So maybe we should be marketing all year round. And I really do feel like even though you might have spaces in your calendar, maybe you're a seasonal business too, maybe you have like times in your week where there are days you're like, I am just booked and I cannot get a social media post out. That's okay. You can create a calendar for marketing around your business, but don't ever stop. When you feel like you have a lull in clientele, don't quit the marketing. When you feel like maybe your revenue has taken a dip, that does not mean to scale back on every single thing that you're putting out. It means you might need to get creative. It means you might need to innovate. It means you might need to restructure some things, but never stop marketing. And this also not only is happening on website, social, creating regular content, but it's also in how you show up and brand yourself. So some simple examples, and I had a conversation with a client just an hour ago, and we were talking about how she could do this. And she's like, Molly, I honestly am trying to do social media posts, but I like don't have a ton of time in my day. I'm running to all these other things. So how do I continue to market myself when I feel so stretched already? And so we went through her schedule, and I was talking to her, and I was like, okay, what do you do in a given day? And so one thing she brought up was that she goes to Pilates class a couple times a week, and she's somebody who's in a bigger metro area. And I'm like, okay, who's in Pilates class with you? And she said it was women who were in like 45 to 64-ish age demographic, which is the demographic my client wanted to serve. And she said, and these women, like when they pull up, like they don't really have like 9 to 5 jobs. Like they have some time freedom. They have some income freedom. They're driving BMWs and Mercedes. And I'm like, you have a luxury brand. That is your clientele. And so I said, we can get creative with your marketing so that you're never stopping marketing, even if you don't have time to create social media posts. I said, why don't you get some tank tops made that have your brand on them? You can put your website or your social media at the bottom and wear those to Pilates class. Or you can put a sticker in the back of your car window. So when people are walking through the parking lot and they see your name and your logo, they can say, oh my gosh, I didn't know so-and-so did that. And then they'll go find you online. So branding yourself and never stop marketing doesn't mean I have to create a social media post for every hour of the day. It doesn't mean I need to have a blog post on my website every week. It doesn't mean I need to go beyond all of the Pinterest, a podcast, all of the things digitally. You can brand yourself and market your business in real life too. And whether you are a location-based business or an online business, there are things you can do to get your brand in front of people. And sometimes it looks like a sticker on a vehicle, merch that you make, sponsoring local events and organizations, showing up at networking events is a really good one. But especially when I got started, one of the things that I did to brand myself, like when I would go places, and this sounds super silly, but I think it kind of like helped establish me, is that when I would go places, I carried like my work bag that I took with me was always in one of my brand colors. And so like when my brand color was like that light, like pastel-y pink, I had a bag that looked like that, and I would wear black and white. So it was, I'd show up, especially if I went somewhere new, then I'd show up and I'd look like my brand when I showed up. And that might sound silly, but these are all ways that you can like create that brand recognition, even if like, and it doesn't require digital. You're going these places anyway. How can you show up looking like yourself while you're there? Or like your brand while you're there. So never stop marketing doesn't just mean social media posts, even though I know that in this day and age, we think that everything has to run through social. Branding yourself and never stop marketing just means where can we find ways to insert our brand in these things we're already doing so that we can create that brand awareness and recognition. And that can, and for me, that even looked like creating worksheets and using my brand colors throughout those worksheets. And I know that for a variety of people who are watching this call, you might be product based, but like that can go to like your tags that you include in store. Maybe you include your logo or you just print them in your colors, things like that. So create that brand vibe and never stop marketing. And this one, I probably don't have to tell you guys much because you're here. But my last tip, something that I learned along the way, is that you can never stop learning, right? As business owners, we like sometimes go through seasonality, right? Where we're like, we're learning and we're growing. And then all of a sudden we'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy. I can't do anything else except like just do the tasks that need to get done. So we have those times and we can like plateau, and that's okay. And then when you're ready and you feel like internally this need to like do something different or grow or stretch, you got to go back into learning more. And this doesn't mean you have to go and drop like $10,000 on a coaching like agreement or anything like that. there are different ways. Oh, I was supposed to delete this slide. So just pretend like you didn't see that one. But there are different ways that you guys can learn continuously. So one of my favorite ways, and I know if you followed me for any amount of time, you know this, but one of my favorite ways to learn is through podcasts. And then especially like as I was getting started, I listened to this podcast. It was like 10 minutes long. The guy released podcasts daily. I don't know how he did it, but it was called the Momentum Podcast by Alex Sharfin. And I learned so much from that free podcast that he released. And I listened to it like in the first 6 months or the first maybe 12 months of my business. I don't listen to it anymore, but I learned so much from that free resource. And there are other coaches, there are other people out there who deliver this free content that you can learn so much from. And so podcasts are going to be your tool of help. I really do love that Momentum podcast. I haven't listened to it in a while, so I'm not sure what he's talking about these days, but his early episodes were great. I continue to listen to my friend Allie Reeves. She has the 6-Figure Influencer podcast. It's specifically geared toward female business owners who want to create great impact and create great revenue. I listen to her podcast weekly. She is awesome. And a bunch of like holistic. So if you liked this conversation about energy and vibration and stuff, like she's your gal. For as far as like skill set kind of development, Amy Porterfield is great if you need to develop your online marketing skill set. She has the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast. I also listen to Chill and Prosper by Denise Duffield Thomas. That's a newer one that I've been listening to, but that's about money mindset. And that one has been great to listen into. So podcasts are a lot of times free and they offer so much insight. Oh, CEO School is another favorite that I've just started listening to by Sanira Madani. And it's for the business owner who like, maybe you're beyond the founder phase, like you've started your business and you're ready to like be the person who organizes and you've got like a team behind you. So CEO School is great for the person in that level of business. You can also get a lot of really good learning collateral through socials, but you got to be strategic about who you follow. I feel like sometime Tara said, can you send those podcasts? For sure, I can send podcast links. Who you follow on social really matters. And like every quarter, I do go through and weed out who I follow because I'm like, sometimes I'll start following people. And then like eventually after a year, maybe less than that or more than that, I'm like, I'm just not really in that same place. So you can definitely go in and unfollow. And I would say ruthlessly unfollow. Nobody knows if you still follow them or not. So you can go in and weed out people. You don't have to follow everybody. Just follow the people on social media who inspire you, make you happy, and feel like you can achieve and do things that you want to do. If there's anybody out there who makes you feel less than or feel like you can't accomplish things, or maybe it's just like an account that makes you laugh, keep them. But you can weed out other people who make you feel bad. So I get really specific on who I follow on social media, and I keep it to the people who like inspire me, keep me high vibe, and I know that I can learn from. There are also some of these people you listen to on podcasts or on social media that have free resources available at their website. So it might be like PDF guides that you can download and then fill out. It might be video trainings that are free available on their YouTube pages. Definitely, you can hit those up. All of these are budget friendly and you can still learn a ton from them. Then when you get to a point where you're like, okay, this is my journey where I learned as much as I could for free. And then I was like, okay, I'm ready to level up. That's when I started taking like workshops. And so my friend Allie that I talked about, her podcast, like I did so many of her workshops. And sometimes it was to learn exactly what she was teaching. And other times it was to learn how she structured educational programming and delivery so that I could bring that into my business. So there are other times you might take workshops and programs for the content, but you might also take it for the foundational structure if that's something you want to incorporate into your own business. But workshops and programs are great when you feel like, okay, I need something a little bit more specific to me. I need a little bit more in depth. I need more accountability. These are that's the time I find that it's good for me to invest in something like this. And then if you are to a point where you're like, I want individualized one-on-one attention, I want really close learning opportunities and more individualized content delivery, that's when you can work with a coach who can help you through specific things. And there are coaches in a variety of areas. Like I'm a marketing coach. I have a friend who is a financial coach. I have another friend who is a mindset coach. So there are coaches for any kind. It kind of goes back to step one, where people will pay you for a lot of things. So there are coaches in every industry and every walk of life. There are manifestation coaches and like literally anything. So you can work with a coach and get individualized intention. This is also when you get to this point, maybe you don't need to learn how to do something better. Maybe you need to work with someone who can take some tasks off your plate. So at this level, or at any level, you can also choose to work with an expert. So you can outsource your accounting, you can outsource your marketing, you can outsource some of your admin tasks to a virtual assistant. But I do feel like my trajectory from my business was I learned as much as possible for free. And then I was like, okay, now I'm going to develop some skills. I'm going to take some programs to help me get better. And then I'm like, now to the point where either I outsource it or I work one-on-one with a coach for a lot of things. So you can learn in any way that fits your budget, in any time frame that fits your schedule, but don't stop learning. It'll make you a better business owner in the long run. Okay, guys. I did that in 49 minutes, which is pretty close to our 45. So I put shift here because I'm like, I don't know why I put that there. Shift into your next level. I don't know what I was thinking. But last thing I do want to say, if you are ready for like a program that will guide you through either starting your business or streamlining what you already have, there is an 8-week business boot camp that I am offering starting next week. Some of you guys who are on the call are already registered. I'm super excited. We have a good group. And today, if you are a viewer of this class and you go in, the early bird rate did end yesterday, but if you're watching this masterclass, there is a promo code for you guys. You just enter masterclass into the coupon code, and whether you're doing the regular rate or the VIP, whether you're doing the one-time payment or the 2-time payment plan, if you put in masterclass, it will ensure that you're still getting the early bird rate instead of the regular rate that is now on the website. So, okay. Now, does anybody have questions? Is there anything that came up during this, during the presentation? Is there anything from outside the presentation that you had questions on? You want me to clarify? We have 10 minutes of just like open dialogue. So you guys can definitely hit me with anything. I must have been such a good teacher. All right, if we don't have any questions, then what I recommend to you guys as like your next step going after this is number 4, working on your mindset. So let me, I'm going to show you this vibrational ladder that I referred to, and then we can wrap up so you guys can get on with your day. Ooh, I will also say that like kind of just digging into who you are as a person and your self-awareness makes like a big difference too. So there can be tools like the Enneagram, if you guys are familiar with that, or I recently did what is called human design, and it takes into account like when you were born, where you were born, and kind of like a mix of your astrological charts and everything. But it helps you really break down like who you are as a person. Like, what are some things that you excel at? Why do you excel at them? What are some things that maybe you didn't realize that you could be gifted in? And I just had a reading on that on my birthday, and it was so much fun. And there were things that she like kind of talked me through, and I'm like, oh my God, I never realized that's why I am the way I am. She's like, Molly, you need to let go of some of these things you're forcing yourself into, find other people to help you with that. And then you need to go live your journey through this. And one of the things she told me is that I need to like just inform. She's like, let it be easy. You need to have more of these workshops. You need to have more informational trainings. And I'm like, you know what? That is where I feel like I'm fulfilled and it's so much fun. And so that's what I'm leaning into. Okay, I'm going to show you this vibrational ladder and then I'll let you guys go. But yeah, human design, Enneagram, that kind of stuff is really fun too when you're on this mindset and understanding your self journey. And then I'm going to exit out of this. Don't look at my folders. I told you that organizing is not my thing, you guys. So don't let these files overwhelm you. All right, where's my image? Okay, can you guys see this? Good. Okay. So this is the vibrational ladder that I worked with Susie Holman. So you can follow her at Susie Holman on Instagram. She's also developing her own app right now that is like kind of building a social media app that is all about this like abundance mindset, like uplifting, kind of like happy space. So I'm sure she'll talk about that on Instagram as well. Actually, it launches tomorrow. But this is like her idea. I'm just kind of being a vessel of her idea. So when we talk about these things about low ladder, low vibration. So when you're feeling these feelings down here, a lot of times that translates through whatever it is you're doing at the moment into the environment or the space around you. So if you are feeling like really fearful, if you're like feeling insecure about something, like we've probably all been that person that you wore an outfit that you weren't sure about, you went to the party, and the whole time, instead of enjoying the party, you were really thinking about how uncomfortable you were and like adjusting your outfit and stuff. So you're feeling insecure, and that like spills out into the environment around you. Now, like we've also been that person at the party who you wear an outfit and you just feel yourself, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, I just feel so great. And you go and you have a good time. And so like you can really like what you decide, the decisions you make really do help you like live a more joyful existence. Now, there are situations where maybe we're grieving and that's outside, like we can't control some of these external factors. And maybe we can't get ourselves from this feeling of grief if we're really in that season. We can't get ourselves from grief all the way up here to joy, but maybe we can get ourselves from grief and we can like work ourselves a little bit higher up into something else. So it's mostly just being self-aware enough to recognize where you're at. And for me, I even like keep this on the lock screen of my phone. So sometimes like I notice like, oh, I'm feeling that pit in my stomach. What am I feeling right now? So maybe I'm feeling doubt. Like, oh shoot, is that check gonna come through this month? I really need it. Maybe it's not gonna ever come. Maybe they lost my address. Maybe it's lost in the mail. It's like recognizing, okay, Molly, like I don't have to worry about that right now. I can bring myself up a little bit to just like, maybe I'm hopeful, like, you know, there's a chance it'll be here. Like, so anyway, this is the vibrational ladder. These lower ladder feelings emit lower vibrational movements, and that translates into the energy. Think about like that high ticket offer that I didn't believe in all the way, that people would like totally accept, and it translated into my results. Versus that Taylor Swift launch that I just had freaking fun with, and other people felt that energy and excitement, and that was the best launch I ever had. So it's recognizing where we're at, making some choices to move us up a little bit, and then especially before you do things that are going to be like big marketing pieces or big decisions for your business, knowing where you're at on this ladder and trying to get yourself a little bit higher before you make these big business choices is going to help you so much. Okay. Christina says, thank you so much. I love learning from you. I feel like I can't get enough. I just love sharing. This is so much fun. Jennifer says, thank you. I really enjoyed this. I have an appointment. Yep. Thank you for being here, everybody. This was a blast. I'm going to send this all out in a replay. So you'll get an email from me soon with the replay to this and some of those links that I referred to. I'll include this ladder. I'll include some links to like analyzing your Enneagram and your human design too. Because all that's really fun. So work on your mindset. If nothing else after this call, go and like just maybe see throughout the day where you're falling on this ladder and see if you can get yourself up the ladder a little bit. And also, if you haven't signed up for the 8-week business bootcamp and you want to, don't forget to use that promo code so you can lock in that early bird rate, even though the prices are up to like the regular rate at this point. Okay. Love you all. Can't wait to see you all in business bootcamp, and thank you for being here. Bye.